Inspire Talks. Om Namastri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharine. We have been discussing Inspire Talks of Saturday, July 13th. In the previous talk, we had a detailed discussion on free will. What is free will? As I have been telling repeatedly that Inspire Talks is a very unique work. It's not really a scripture the way Gita is. And yet, this one is a scripture. Those of you who have a copy of Inspire Talks or Devbani in Bengali, I'll suggest that you read half a page, one paragraph, maybe one page every day. Because when you read the Vedas or maybe the Upanishads, you realize that these sages are pouring down spiritual wisdom without any kind of restraint. They are not worrying about the continuity. In the Vedas, you will see the first hymn is about something, second hymn is about entirely different thing. Continuity is lacking. If you read Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, you'll see the same thing. Continuity is missing. Within a paragraph, the continuity is there. Within a sentence, the continuity is there. But if you go through 4 pages, you'll find there is no continuity. In fact, that is the sign of a scripture. When a prophet speaks, it doesn't try to organize things or structure things the way a philosopher does. Swamiji is a prophet. And believe me, his greatest work is Inspire Talks. And I truly feel privileged that I am explaining this work. Some 15, 20 years ago, one very senior monk had told me I should write a commentary on this. I told him that indeed I want, because it's an amazing work. And you will see Swamiji is talking about freedom of will, free will. And he shows how there is no free will. If you take yourself as an Atman, then everything is your will, everything is free will. If you identify yourself as mind and body, there is no free will. And from there, in the very next paragraph, practically next sentence, Swamiji moves on to the purpose of life. What is this life? Why we are here? Those of you who are a bit indrawn, at least in moments of pain, in moments of crisis, or if you have a philosophical bent of mind, you might remember that, or you might be continuing with it, that you often wonder, why I'm here? What is the purpose of life? And these modern gurus, they're continuously talking about purpose of life. Those of you who read Sri Ramakrishna will say that God realization is the goal of life. Perfectly all right. No doubt about it. Swamiji places the entire thing differently. Now, if you ask me, I'll say that there are only two outlooks that really explain the universe. Just two outlooks. There is no third. With due respect to every other religion. First aspect is what we get from the Bible, Old Testament, the story of Adam and Eve. They did whatever they had to. They ate the forbidden fruit and they were driven out. They were driven out of the heaven. Now, the purpose of life is to go back to that state, go back to the heaven. And then there is the Vedantic outlook. There is pure consciousness. For whatever reason, there comes ignorance. Why it comes, how it comes, there is no answer. Then you will say that, well, in that case, these Semitic religions, they definitely have a better answer. Now talking about all those things that there is an apple tree and there is a snake. No, these are all mythologies. These are just ways to explain. But the bottom line remains the same. There is a divine fall. That means we have forgotten who we are. Knowingly, unknowingly, we are trying to go back. In the stories of different religions, they try to present this fact differently. The king who has lost his way, the prince who has lost his way. No, there are many such stories. When I write stories like Tia and Param, I'm harping on the same topic, going back to the origin. Swamiji is also talking the same thing, slightly differently. He says everything in the universe is struggling to complete a circle, to return to its source, to return to its only real source, Atman. This very story, Sri Ramakrishna narrates in the Gospel as the Homa bird. In my book, Kratu, I took this story, took the idea and detailed it. We are all that. Actually, we are so lost in this world. We are so mesmerized by this world. We have forgotten who we are. And in Hindu tradition, you find hundreds and thousands of such stories. For example, to give you a very simple example, Narada once wanted to know what is Maya. And he was moving around the world with Lord Vishnu, his favorite pastime of the Lord and his devotee. And Lord Vishnu says, Narada, I am thirsty, get me a glass of water, pot of water. And Lord creates his Maya. Narada reaches a house and there he meets a beautiful girl and he forgets all about Vishnu and he asks the girl if she would kindly agree to marry him. Imagine, in the first meeting. And then he settles down and he has a family and he has kids and there is flood. And everything is getting washed away and Narada is trying to catch hold of his kids, not able to. And then they get lost and he sits down and he starts crying and crying. And suddenly he finds Lord Vishnu telling him, Narad, where have you been? It has been quite some time. I've been waiting for water. And then Narad realizes that it's all Maya. It's a story. And there are many such stories, such stories where you find that someone has completely forgotten. Same thing happens when we dream. During dreams, We forget to who we are. And very often we feel so fresh, so relieved to come out of some nightmarish thing. Many of you might have dreamt of your exam days. I still sometimes I get these nightmares. And I have mathematics exams and I know nothing. I remember nothing. Or it's exam time and I'm not able to reach the hall on time. These things. And then your sleep breaks and you feel so relieved. This world is a big dream. We have started this series Mandukya Upanishad with Karika. Those of you interested may join us. There they will be discussing this in detail. Ultimately it's just Maya. It's all dream. Actually it is. And this is what every teacher has been trying to tell. Even those who are telling you that kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Christians keep talking about heaven. What is heaven? Heaven means being near with God. Every religion talks of the same thing. When Buddhism talks about nirvana, it talks about complete annihilation. That means you become what you truly are. Or rather, you be. This continuous becoming this, becoming that stops. This stops when you realize who truly are. The search for happiness is a struggle to find the balance, to restore the equilibrium. See, these are very simple sentences, and I'm sure you will find these sentences something like quotable quotes. In Reader's Digest earlier, I have not read Reader's Digest for many years now. There used to be quotable quotes, and these appear like quotable quotes, but no. These are the mantras from the Upanishads. The verses of the Upanishads, the mantras of the Upanishads, they appear so simple, and yet they are so profound. Only when you have grown in that spiritual stature that you can really understand what they mean to say. Only when you grow spiritually, when you have reached that level, you will understand. We are continuously running after happiness. Why? Because pain makes us run. We don't want to dwell on pain. And yet, happiness is actually a bondage. We don't even realize it. When you are happy, you don't grow. You grow only when you are in misery. A famous example of two birds in Mundaka Upanishad. When it says that when the bird is enjoying the fruit, it is happy, well pursed, singing. And when it tastes a bitter fruit, it leaves that branch, goes up. My dear viewers and listeners, look back at your life, look back. You will see that you, me, he, she, everyone has been in the pursuit of happiness. And yet, the little growth that we had in this life was entirely due to misery. The final misery comes when you are longing for God and not able to see. Those of you who might have read the biography of Sri Ramakrishna would remember how Sri Ramakrishna was panting for God, crying for God, and he wanted to kill himself because he was not able to see Mother Kali. That's the ultimate of misery. That pitiable and miserable cries of a baby not able to find her mother. Ultimate misery. And then comes that happiness, that joy that can never be taken away from you. Swamiji, Swamiji is a man of positivity. Even Sri Rabindranath Tagore wrote to Romarola that everything about Swami Vivekananda is positive. There's nothing negative in him, he wrote. When you are running after wealth, when you are running after recognition, when you are running after females and females are running after male, if at all, actually you are seeking happiness. Under normal conditions, you might have come across the sentences many times that there is no happiness in the world and all happiness is fleeting, all those stupid things. But we forget the most important aspect of happiness, that it is the faded reflection of that ultimate joy. God is Satchidananda. God is all bliss. We have fallen from there. Deep down, that memory remains. Deep down. And because of that, we are seeking happiness. And yet, the unfortunate thing is, it is the misery that keeps on pushing towards higher and higher happiness. I remember when I was a schoolboy, I had difficulty passing subjects. I was always like this. Not that I was a stupid person somehow. And then there were the toppers who used to go on pleading with teachers for 1 mark, 2 marks. And I used to think, my God, you are already the topper of the class. And even there you are not satisfied. So true. People who have immense wealth, even they're not happy. They want to create more health, more wealth. Persons like Bill Gates, they're donating millions and millions in charity. And through that, they're making more money, creating more wealth for themselves. They can never be happy because this pursuit of happiness, I want to be happy, it's a reflection. See, I'll tell you a personal memoir. At one time, I was at Devghar. I've stayed for some time in Devghar. We had a senior monk, Swami Pavananandaji Maharaj. See, great monk, Shambhu Maharaj, we used to call him. Those of you who have been to Devghar would surely know him. He was a foreigner, tall, naturally very fair, and he was very good at games. And he was really great at gardening. During his time, entire campus bloomed with flowers. And he was so devoted to Thakur. He's absolutely meticulous in his routine, absolutely meticulous. And so absorbed. Now it so happened that once the district magistrate, the collector of that district, had come with one of his friends. I knew that friend, that person. Actually, I knew I had met him once or twice. He belonged to some other cadre, and actually, this gentleman was from Bihar, so he wanted to be transferred to Bihar cadre, to Bihar state. Home state he wanted. And Pavananandji, he listened. And I felt that he's listening half-heartedly. But no, he listened. And then he said, see, this is a very, very interesting comment he made. And he must have been 86, 87 at the time. Said, you see, this is the reflection of spiritual struggle unknowingly. Now, we could not understand what he was trying to say. And he says, you are an IS officer, and yet you are not satisfied. You want something more. You want something more. It is this dissatisfaction that pushes you more and more towards self-realization. Words are mine, idea was his. I was stunned. I was pretty young and I lacked maturity. The philosophical and spiritual maturity that comes only with age. Where anyone will see some kind of frustration. And some may say, my God, you're an IS officer, and even then you are complaining. And they'll say, you are complaining type, you are this, you are that. But Maharaj, just in one sentence, he beautifully said that this is what happens. You are unhappy, and you will be more unhappy, more unhappy. Ultimately, you will become unhappy with the whole world. Again, words are mine, the idea is his. You feel that if I get that, I will be happy, and after some time, you get bored of it. And then you want something else. And then you get bored of it. And then you want something else. And you get bored of it. Those of you who are thinking types may say that, well, then do you justify Casanovas? Well, one needs to be politically correct while talking in public. So it's better that you yourself find the answer. The search for happiness is a struggle to find that balance. Here is this world, here is the negativity, and you trying to find that balance because you want to go back to the source, to the origin, to restore the equilibrium. Morality is the struggle of the bound will to get free. And it's the proof that we have come from perfection. This is again a very powerful statement. Everything in Inspired Talks is a very powerful statement. Our will is so bound. And we are applying morality, particularly in the Western world, that is the Christians. And so that you can be free. Just now we talked about Casanova. On the one hand, This behavior that you're running after this person, that person, this is licentiousness. And you're to keep you bound so that you can grow comes this idea of marriage. Marriage as an institution, it creates morality. When you have morality, it pushes you up. Because without morality, you will go further down. Morality is the struggle of the bound will to get free. We are tamasic by nature. We are bound. And when you take these moral forces, it pushes you up towards freedom. So the idea of duty is the midday sun of misery, scorching the very soul. See, Swamiji is actually talking about freedom. And each of these sentences is very important. So the idea of duty, if you think that you have duty, the midday sun of misery, who will have a duty? Bound person. Those of you who might have studied Gita, we have these Gita talks in English, and you'll find it in the playlist. Naivatasya krite narto na krite neha kashana. Once you know who truly you are, once you know you are free Atman, you are Atman, you don't have any duty. If you do something, it will not create virtue for you. And if you don't do something, it won't create vice for you. Slightly difficult for us to understand. Duty. Duty is meant for the bound soul. And it drives you crazy. Drives you crazy. Lord Krishna tells in Gita that I don't have any duty whatsoever, and yet I do. I perform my acts. O king, drink this one drop of nectar and be happy. That is, know that I am not the doer. This idea will become clear in the next sentences. Let there be action without reaction. Action is pleasant. All misery is reaction. So we have these two forces. Now all these things will become clear. We have this action and there is reaction. And Swamiji gives a beautiful example. The child puts its hand in the flame, that is pleasure. But when its system reacts, then comes the pain of burning. We all know. We put our hands, we put our fingers in the fire. That's action. We are asserting our freedom. Finger burns. And the system, the body system says, go back. And we have to go back in pain. Action is always of the free. Action always brings joy. Reaction always brings misery. There's a baby, kid. She never wants to study or he never wants to study. Particular boys, they want to play all the time. He is into games. Mom comes and asks him to come back. Poor fellow, he has to give up his games. That is reaction. Duty, whatsoever of whatsoever kind, it is actually a reaction. When we perform our duty, we are not into action, we are into reaction. Every reaction is pain. Every reaction is pain. And that is why this idea of karma, when they say that you do something, and the result comes, it bounces back, it causes pain. Real joy is when you act, don't bother about reaction. And if all your actions are due to reaction, then know that you are a pitiable person. Think of a slave. Think of the old time kings. And he has an attendant, a battery of attendants. He's just standing. King commands and he acts. Does he act? No. He actually reacts. He actually reacts to the command of the king. Can there be a more pitiable plight? One of my very good friends, the great writer, he was once telling me that there are three jobs one must not take. I'll just mention one. Other two are not needed. He said, service sector. That is working in a hotel, a restaurant, etc. Why? Says, when it is time for others to enjoy, it will be the time for your duty. Nothing painful. Nothing more painful. Now you can go on asking question, who will do this, there, who will do that. No, that's not our concern. The thing is, the important thing is, in this life, if everything that you do is out of reaction, how can you be happy? Ask yourself, are you in pain? Are you in misery? Are you feeling miserable? Do you really feel unhappy? If yes, know that amount of reaction in your life is much more than amount of action. Action comes from freedom, reaction comes from bondage. I know some of my viewers who, after listening to our talks, have slowly gone into studying scriptures and devoting their life to religious, some kind of religious activities. Now, mind it, their forefathers, their own forefathers, were into religious activities because they considered those to be their duty. That they had to get up in the morning, they had to take a bath, recite certain chants, and recite from the book. These were sacred duties. But sacred duties are also reaction. You are born in a particular family because you are, you might be an Iyer, you might be an Iyengar. There are certain responsibilities on you. Where is the freedom? I know of quite a few viewers who, after listening to our talks, they have started loving these scriptures. They love to study. They love to memorize, not as a way of reaction, but as action. So they love to get up in the morning, otherwise they won't get time. The rest of the day is dedicated to reactions. Look anywhere you will. If you find any person who is miserable, who is in pain, know that this person is into a reaction only. Give him some freedom. Give him some freedom so that he can act. Some joy will come. Look at your own life. Just look at your own life and see. Are you into reaction mode or are you into action mode? If you are too much into reaction mode, you can never be at peace. Just like the child who put his hand in fire and reacted and withdrew and cried out in pain. We are doing the same thing all the time. We think we are acting, but actually we are reacting. When we can stop that reaction, then we have nothing to fear. You have to reach a stage in life where this continuous reaction has to stop. This is what Atmagyani does. This is what God realized person does. He realizes he has no duty. When Vedanta, when Sri Ramakrishna says that you go beyond good and bad. At my age and at my understanding, when I go to temple, I don't go as a way of duty. But when we were young, it fell within the norms, it fell within our duties to go to the temple at the appointed hour. Well, it was through that we have grown up. Now when I go because I love it. I enjoy it. Life gets regulated through reaction. A time must come in your life when you will get out of this reaction and get into the action mode. This is where Vedanta surpasses all. Vedanta is continuously telling you to get out of this reaction mode. And yet, the beginning has to be from the reaction mode. That means discipline, that is morality, that is dharma, virtue. You need to practice all this so that you can go beyond all this. Whatever you do, you will be doing. It will not be something immoral. It will not be something reckless. But it will be out of your sweet will, because you will be acting and there will be no fear of reaction. Control the brain and do not let it read the record. Be the witness and do not react. Only thus can you be happy. Brain, it goes on reading the records of everything that is there, every data that enters us. The brain reads, goes into react mode. Today, just something very personal. Today, I got a mail from one of those crazy listeners. I have written a very long mail that whatever I am doing on this YouTube is utter nonsense. And he begins with that you are teaching the Vedas, and can you come up with a mantra that will destroy coronavirus? And then he goes on to say that how everything that I have been doing on YouTube is utter nonsense, and that my Raj Yoga classes are utter nonsense. Initially, I thought that I should tell him that you should go consult a psychiatrist. I thought I should tell him that, who are you to tell me what I should do? Then I decided not to react. And I just deleted his mail. This power, where you say that, okay, fine, I won't react. I felt sorry for the person. I don't know why. Actually, you can do nothing about it. Most people who have gone through religious books, their head tends to go wrong. So Swami says, brain will keep on making records and will like to read and reread. Don't be much into it. Learn not to react. Dear viewers, dear friends, Probably we are placing a tall order before you. But the beginning has to be made. You have to begin somewhere. You need to get into it. To give you an example, something that I often do. When I have done work for a while, maybe an hour or so, I just sit back, close my eyes, watch my breath, or take deep breath, and just allow myself to be what I am. No action, no reaction. Neither there is any action nor there is any reaction. I gave you the example of how I did not react. In fact, those who are into higher offices, they do it all the time. They don't react. But they also react. They do react. You must find some time in your everyday activity where neither you will act nor you will react. And you must have some time in your daily life when you will be acting on your free will. It will not be reaction to something. Not because you have to do. It says, Swami says, be the witness. Just see how those ideas are coming, how those impulses are coming, how those inputs are coming. Don't react, just watch. Just watch. These things are best done when you sit for meditation and see how the thoughts arise and how you're not reacting to those things. And you have to be something like that in your daily life. Now, that's not easy. It takes years and maybe births of practice. And that's how it has to be. Now, there is a very famous Zen story, and I'm sure all of you know, and I have also mentioned many times about a Zen monk, that there was a young lady of slightly loose character in a village, and she had an affair with someone, and there was a baby. Now, when asked, it was out of wedlock. So she blamed that Zen monk for that. Now, villagers did not want to beat him up, so they took the baby and told the monk that now you have to take care. You are the father. He simply said, well, well. So he kept the baby, took care of the baby. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Now, once later, that lady, that young girl, she kind of became mature. She realized her mistake, and then she told the villagers that actually so and so was the person responsible for that. So the villagers went and profusely apologized before that monk. And the monk again said, well, well. Nothing. Well, well. Oh, it's okay. No reaction. Believe me, dear listeners, it is not easy. I am in this field. I know how difficult it is. But that is the goal. Think of Buddha. Lord Buddha, not reacting to anything. Gita beautifully says that such a person, even if he chances to acquire a huge fortune, he will not be swayed. Yam labdva chaparam labham. And at the same time, if really massive misery falls upon his head, not be perturbed. Somewhere you get disassociated. This idea has been coming in our inspired talks repeatedly, where Swamiji has been talking about this world is puppy's play. It's all puppy playing. Don't get involved in all this. If you want to be happy, if you want to be happy, learn to be a witness, because actually you are a witness, sakshi. See it from the Vedanta standpoint. Something which you all must have formed some basic ideas. There is the Atman, and you are that Atman. Atman alone has consciousness. Atman alone has the intelligence. That consciousness falls on the mind, and mind appears to be intelligent. And after that, everything becomes the empire of the mind. Mind is connected with the senses because they are made up of the same material. And the senses are connected with the objects because they are made of the same material. They belong to the same caste. Foreigners don't understand this idea of caste much, but we in India, we understand it so well. So well. Particularly if you go to the South India, you'll see that people will always be thinking and talking in terms of castes. Objects and senses, they belong to the same caste. And the senses and the mind, they belong to the same caste. Atman, it is in no way connected with any of these. Whatever is happening in this world is object acting upon objects, objects acting upon the senses, senses acting upon the objects, senses acting upon the mind, mind acting upon the senses. So mind, senses, object. This is world. In the process, we get involved. This very famous joke as a kid we had heard. Two people were quarreling in a train. And one said, I'll give you such a blow that 64 of your teeth will fall out. Then one gentleman says, but there are only 32. The first one says, I had taken into account your teeth also. So, two persons are quarreling. Why are you getting involved in it? Senses have their preference. They want to go towards certain objects. They do not want to go towards certain other objects. And depending on how the senses are reacting, the mind is reacting. They belong to a family. There's a very famous saying, and extremely famous in India. If husband and wife are quarreling, don't interfere. If you interfere, both of them will turn against you. Immediately they will unite, and both of them will. Senses and mind, they are just like that husband and wife. Whatever they have to do, let them. Why are you getting involved? And because you get involved, you suffer. All my suffering, all your suffering is simply because we are interfering in the fight of a couple. Don't. Just don't. You don't belong to that family. Why are you getting into it? This is none of your business. If two puppies are quarreling, let them. If they're making love, let them. It has nothing to do with you. But having lived with the mind for millions and billions of births, we feel, I am them. Aham esham mama ete. Acharya Shankar famously used to say, Aham esham, I am theirs, they are mine. All misery begins. The happiest moments we ever know are when we entirely forget ourselves. Obvious. Something very obvious. When you watch a movie and you forget the sense of time. Sense of time is there only when you are aware of yourself. For example, when you wait for someone, you are aware of time. Time seems to move so slow because you are aware of yourself. It's so boring. It's so boring. But when you are absorbed in anything, whatever kind of work that be, if you are absorbed, deeply absorbed, you lose the sense of time. When do you lose the sense of time? When you lose your own awareness. Those of you, many of our dear listeners, they are into a very serious job. Very serious job. The kind of work you do, you get absorbed in it. Be it your computer work, be it your painting, or whatever work that be. When you lose a sense of time, it means you have forgotten yourself. Even during deep sleep, you forget yourself, and that's why you enjoy. That means your involvement with the mind has stopped at that time. So work of your own free will and not from duty. When we were kids and whenever we had to we were into quarrel, we would say that I'll go if I wish to go. I'm not going to listen to your command. There's something like that. Whatever you do because it's your free will, not because somebody is forcing upon you. We have no duty. This world is just a gymnasium in which we play. Our life is an eternal holiday. This is the caption I am using today. What is life? Swamiji began with struggle to go back. And here we reach a conclusion that life is an eternal holiday. What do you do in holiday if you go? You do nothing. You walk when you want to walk, when you sleep when you want to sleep, you eat when you want to eat. Nobody to impose anything on you because it's holiday. Those of you who are into office work, you'll know. If it's a Sunday, if it's a holiday, you don't even want to get up from the bed. You say that, what's the hurry? Today is Sunday. No going to the office. Imagine eternal holiday. One of my brother monks was once asking me, from the day that you have joined, that is more than 40 years ago, more or less you have been on a long holiday, isn't it? I said, that's very true. Very fortunately for me, I never had any such responsibility on me that would force me into activity like a slave. Even when I was principal of residential school, Ramakrishna Mission Devgar, I was free. There was no duty for me. I was secretary of some center. I just behaved like that. Nothing. I generally try to treat life as a holiday. No, not that I am spiritually elevated person, but yes, I take things lightly. I am not very serious about things. When I write a book, it's the same idea. I am not forced to write. I don't take any royalty from it. I don't want any name. I don't even use my name. If I want to write, I'll write. If I don't want to write, I won't write. These classes, I am not forced. If I want to stop, I can stop any minute. And yet I do. The day I feel that I am bored, I'll stop. Because for me, life is an eternal holiday. Can you make it? It's difficult. Living in the world, it's difficult because just to make your belly run, you need to have money, and for that you have to work. However, some kind of regulating mechanism can definitely be worked out. That okay, fine. This much work I have to do because I have to run the family. Beyond that, it's a holiday. For a spiritual person, to be a spiritual person, life has to be an eternal holiday. The moment you have any kind of duty, you're bound. You're a doctor. You have a patient who is admitted who requires attention. You have a duty and you are bound. However, if a monk is a doctor and he has the same kind of responsibility, yes, still he has taken that responsibility on himself and he can give that up any moment. We are not into enjoyments. We don't need wealth for that. We don't have any responsibilities. We don't have any liabilities. That is what a spiritual person has to be. Treat life as an eternal holiday. If you can reach that state where you can say that, okay, fine, at least once a day, or for next 3 hours is holiday for me. You'll see that your life will change right away. Overnight. You want to be spiritual? Just fix 2 hours, 3 hours a day where you will be yourself. Do what you want, say what you want, free. No reaction, only action. 3 hour. And it's an eternal holiday. You say, what about these persons who are real householders? Well, as we mentioned that, you are not yet ready for it. And that is why Lord makes you go through certain grinding. Through the process of morality so that you can enjoy that. Enjoy the eternal holiday. Those of you who have responsibilities and yet you are aspiring to be free, you are aspiring to be spiritual, know that there are certain aspects of your personality that require deep polish. And that is why you have this responsibility. But sooner or later it will go away if you are truly aspiring for spirituality. Because as a soul, nobody can keep you bound. You are in that bondage, you have those responsibilities simply because of one reason, that you don't yet have the strength. Because see, even if you are given a holiday, maybe for one whole month, what will you do wherever you go? For one whole month, if you have no activity, nothing, what are you going to do? Nothing. You don't know. You won't know how to spend your time. The world teaches you how to stay without any activity. It is taking away the angularities of your mind, taking away the angularities of your personality. I hope I'm making the ideas clear. The whole secret of existence is to have no fear. Naturally, whom to fear? You are the big boss. You are Atman. There is no Lord above you. Never fear what will become of you. Depend on no one. Because these are all part of reaction. Only the moment you reject all help are you free. You don't want any help. Forget about seeking help. Forget about seeking help. You are not even into taking help. You're free. The full sponge can absorb no more. Is it? See, this is the beauty of Swamiji. He is discussing deep philosophy, and he comes with a beautiful example of a deep sponge, which has been in the ocean, or say water, and it's full. It cannot take any more. Beyond it. Even fighting in self-defense is wrong, because fighting is also a reaction. Though it is higher than fighting in aggression, obvious. There is no righteous indignation, because indignation comes from not recognizing sameness in all things. When you see sameness in all things, then your desire to like someone or your strong dislike for someone, these go away. So anyway, that's the idea, and with that we end July 13th talk, and next is July 14th. Thank you so much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna.